come on in and sit down. You cut the hardcore crew chewing the fat. You cut us shooting the shit. You cut us in the moment.
On a real team is right next with hanging out with Cesaro and Tyson Kidd.
Because they got high.
I'd rather be cuddling up next to Natalia.
So, talking about this past Sunday, a lot of people were really pissed off about Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. Apparently, everybody seemed to want Daniel Bryan to win the Rumble. I don't know. Does that really seem to make any sense? What do you think, Joe?
In a setting, it does. Because you look at everybody else who was in that Rumble, they had to give it to someone as big as Reigns. Everybody else in the entire Rumble, except for Dolph Ziggler, who Ziggler could have won too, but everybody else has been there, has been to the top, has main evented already, been a world champion, with some exceptions like Ambrose, Rusev, and all these other guys. But in all honesty, Reigns has a nice package. He's got the size, he's got the look, he's got everything. But we're all forgetting one thing. He's got the family connection. So he has
The Rock.
He has The Rock. They have the Usos. Let's face it. Out of everybody there, and again, I'm going to say it, out of everybody in that Rumble, he was the most logical person to win than anybody else.
And you know what? I think as much as it, that's why people are a little bit pissed, because it was very, very predictable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. I mean, I wanted to see Dolph Ziggler win. And, he really had a wonderful year. He really showed that he can be up to that spot with everybody else. But for some reason, they weren't ready to give it to him. Andy, what do you think?
After watching the interview on Raw, they just seem to be giving him a rough time, to be honest.
And that's, again, even the fans were very, very pissed. Some of the fans, I guess, wouldn't even let, a lot of the wrestlers get back to the hotel, and I think that was a really, I want to say it's harsh, but let's be realistic. In football and basketball and other things, we've seen fans lash out at players when, their team didn't win. Hell, I mean, I can even tell you where the NFL Pats would lose a Super Bowl, they would go out into the town and literally flip over cars.
What I don't understand, though, when he got injured and he was away, when he come back, it blew the roof off. But now they just don't seem to like the guy. And on the interview, the guy that interviewed him on Raw yesterday, I thought it was a bit in bad taste when he says to him, do you think you've got the position that you've got because you're favouritised by the powers that be, and you're a third-generation wrestler, and blah, blah, blah. Well, does it really matter? And his answer was brilliant. I thought, well, at the end of the day, I can be Triple H's favourite person, but if I can't perform in the ring, I wouldn't have that position. Perfect answer.
You know what? And it was an awesome answer. And you know what? The fact is he's gotten there on his own. And I'm going to tell what I said to Billy on Billy's show a couple nights ago. At the end of the day, right now, fans are pissed off and they hate it, but fans are very, very fickle. I'd say with
who did the fans want win? Somebody like Bray Wyatt?
Daniel Bryan, I believe they wanted to win. Because once Daniel Bryan... Say again?
A lot of them did want Daniel Bryan to win.
Exactly.
There's guys like Ziggler, Ambrose. They just didn't want the predictable thing to happen.
The only thing is, though, and I think Daniel Bryan appreciates it, why he didn't win, he's just come off an injury, and they can give him, like, the World Championship match. So I think even Daniel Bryan knows he's got to build his way back up again, and if the fans are that fickle, they shouldn't even call themselves fans.
But here's another thing to think about. What if he would have won? Would the fans would have riot too for that as well? Because it's also predictable. If John Cena would have won, would they be doing the same thing? Absolutely. The fans are so fickle that they so used to seeing the same people winning constantly, that when somebody new rolls in and it's time for them to have the ball, instead of the fans saying, okay, let's give this guy a shot, they quickly, become crybabies and whiners. Oh, no, we wanted this guy because he's been there 50 million times. He's been to the well so many times that we're used to seeing his face. obviously they don't want to give anybody new a chance. Fans get behind Roman Reigns when he's doing something like mid-cardish or not so main event. Now that he's in the main event, everybody's booed his. I would not be surprised if it continues going in that way, that the fans boo him and all that. And don't be surprised that they do some sort of 360 and maybe turn him heel and have him join the Authority and be with Seth Rollins again. And they'll pummel, Dean Ambrose, and Ambrose turns, because fans are so fickle. The WrestleMania plans could be changed overnight. Remember, guys, there's been contenders who won the Royal Rumble, and they've put up their Royal Rumble win in other pay-per-view shows before WrestleMania and have lost it to someone else. So something to think about.
Yeah.
How I saw it, like last Sunday night, I wasn't pissed. I was disappointed, because I wanted to be shocked at the end of a Royal Rumble. But that's just me. Now, what I saw Monday night gave me a glimmer of hope of how they're doing it, because I was afraid, they're just going to do just so damn dry. How both guys, like when they're in an angle, as of late, have been bone friggin' dry. Like they're just had no feeling to them. Like the stuff that Brock Lesnar would say on the mic or something, like between him, Cena, and Seth Rollins, or what what Reigns with the Big Show. That's what scared me. These two, the promo they cut on each other Monday night, that was good. Good for these two. So to me, this has some promise.
The situation why fans are so fickle with the Royal Rumble. Guys, let me put it this way. What if it wasn't so predictable? What if the secrets are so kept quiet like in the 80s? What if nobody knew the secrets? And what if we didn't know anything? And we could have done a podcast that say, hey, guess what? You know what? We don't know who's going to win. It looks like anybody can win. Today, it's like everything is so predictable that when the predictable situation happens, it's not the wrestler's fault. It's just we're so used to it. It's easy to, it might as well open up a newspaper and say, okay, Roman Reigns is going to win the Royal Rumble. And then when Sunday comes, okay, well, would it have been a different thing if we did not know anything, if it wasn't so predictable?
Yeah.
Would have that made a difference?
Yes.
Do you know what I don't understand with the way wrestling's going at the moment? Vince's always got, I do it for the fans. That's always his motto. But this last 3 or 4 big main events, the fans have kicked off from the main events that they've chosen. Now, to me, that shows me the incompetence of the booking people.
Yeah.
The people who are, because they are supposed to be thinking, well, Roman Reigns is the guy that everybody loves, so he's the guy we're going to push. And obviously, they've got it wrong. So they shouldn't be in that job.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily that they got it wrong, because let's be realistic. If Daniel Bryan was still on the shelf, the fans would have gone crazy. The point was that they wanted Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan had just come back. He just came back not even a couple weeks ago. And you can't give the title back to that guy. It just doesn't make sense. You said it yourself. It's just the fans are just that fickle. Just because, I think even Ashley said it, our good friend, the Studley man Ashley, he had said it was how quickly he was eliminated. He was in, and I think for maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he was quickly eliminated, and that's why the fans were really upset. It's but I think he had to be eliminated that quick to say, yep, that's where he is. That's the level he's at right now. He has to get back up, in order to, before
I don't think he's going to be anything like he was before, and not because of the injury. Because if you listen carefully, if you haven't already done so, go and check out Raw from last night. Listen to his interview. He basically said, I've had my 5 minutes of fame, I've headlined WrestleMania, and I'm happy.
And for people that were wanting him to win the Rumble, which I got no problem with them doing that, but once they saw Brock Lesnar win the match prior to that, would you really want somebody who's fresh off an injury going against somebody who had, in his last couple of matches, has hurt people?
Yeah, I definitely would not want to see Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. I mean, it just, a lot of people, there was rumors that there was going to be Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan before he got hurt, but after he gets hurt, forget it. He wouldn't just hurt Daniel Bryan, he would literally cripple him. Joe, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. It would be such a mismatch that there should be no way Daniel Bryan can go in there and literally stand a chance. It should be like even one F5. It should be like one neck breaker, and it should be all over with. That again, that's what the fans don't realize. Wrestling's supposed to look real. It's supposed to be a sport. Now, even in the most pro-scripted thing, in the most scripted storyline, let's face it, any fight, do you think Brock, who's a former MMA champion, is gonna literally be taken off his feet by a little goat-faced boy? Nothing against Daniel Bryan, he's a good worker, but come on now, if he ran and grabbed onto Brock's leg, Brock should look down and say, holy crap, I felt an insect crawl on my leg, and shake him off and just pummel him completely.
Now, I want to talk about the triple threat match real quickly. The one thing that a lot of people really got on John Cena about for a long time was that, John Cena never sold matches. I mean, never sold moves. But if you look at Brock Lesnar, he did not sell any one real move. Brock Lesnar did not take one, not two, but three AAs from John Cena, and he pops right back up. Later on, he gets slammed with the MIT briefcase once, twice, then gets hit with a curb stomp, and he pops right back up. Now, I'm sorry, I understand you're supposed to be this big, huge super beast, but you're just popping up and everything's fine? Does that not sound like a little bit, hard to believe?
And here's the thing, the curb stomp is supposed to have put guys like Randy Orton and other people out of business for a while.
Exactly.
Again, I don't get all these super moves and all this stuff. Hulk Hogan had a leg drop. That was it. Ric Flair had the figure four. Paul Orndorff had the pile driver. Macho had the elbow. One move, you're dead, you're done, you're out of there. When people start kicking out of hard maneuvers and powerful-looking moves, it destroys the credibility of that move as well as the wrestler who did it. There's so many wrongs in wrestling today. And remember, Rick, you and me talked about it. The reason it's like that because there isn't any competition out there for Vince. If Vince was fully in charge and there was if WCW was still around or another bigger company, please nobody say TNA because TNA is no competition. Let's say if somebody had made a new company, if Jeff Jarrett had a trillionaire and gave him money, says, go ahead, go make your company, and it got national exposure and it got great stars, great action. Then you'll see Vince come right off his balcony or whatever, his penthouse, wash his face with cold water and says, I'm ready to go. And the whole wrestling industry will change because Vince will be now challenged. You don't see that anymore because there is no competition for Vince. So he's letting a slope-headed caveman that has only wrestler experience, never had booking experience, run a multi-million-dollar company. Okay, he does fine with NXT because that's like running an indie company. But for a mega corporation where you're supposed to make money, I think Triple H is a lousy booker, a lousy, COO or whatever you want to call him.
Let's move along. Lance, I believe you have some controversies and scandals for us.
Why, yes, I do. It is the snake pit incident with between Honky-Tonk Man and Jake the Snake Roberts. Okay, Honky-Tonk Man attacked the Snake with a guitar during an interview segment on the Snake Pit. In reality, the Honky-Tonk Man guitar shot legitimately injured Jake Roberts' neck. It it occurred before the use of guitars, which were gimmicks before they were gimmicked to break easily. The Honky-Tonk Man denies that he legitimately injured Roberts. Although, Honky-Tonk's manager, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, as well as the video of the incident, suggest otherwise. I do have quotes from the two men. Jake Roberts said of the incident, someone was sent to get the guitar that was to be used, had a different idea of what was going to be done with it. So the guitar he brought back was half an inch thick. It was a solid son of a bitch. If you look at the tape, you'll see when Honky-Tonk Man hit me with it, it does not bust. When I go down, he hits me 2 or 3 more times, it still doesn't bust. He nearly killed me. I dug fiberglass out of my back for weeks, because you couldn't see it, but when you lay down on the couch or the sheets or something, fiberglass splinters. It was his fault, the situation where we weren't thinking. When Honky Tonk hit me with the guitar, it blew 2 discs in my neck. I wrestled for a year and a half. Those 2 discs ruptured, which was really the big turning point in my drug addiction, because I was medicating myself so heavily to keep wrestling. I was doing so many muscle relaxers and downers and pain pills that I had to have something to wake me up. Now, Honky Tonk Man has something different to say. That guitar was the most gimmick guitar that could have ever been gimmicked. It was 2 or 3 years later that Jake the Snake Roberts had neck surgery. He didn't go the following day. He didn't go the next minute and get the MRI. He's at WrestleMania 3. The guitar shot 3 or 4 weeks ahead of that. He's not saying my neck hurts. He's not saying any of that at all. So I say this, Jake, you're full of shit. You're lying. You've told this story for years. You're so full of shit than a Christmas turkey. I hit him with a guitar, and guess what? If I get another chance, I'm gonna hit him again. You guys thoughts?
I've read this story, and I kind of laughed at it because you sent this to me a couple of times, and we really didn't have a chance to do a Controversies and Scandals for a while, and I had to laugh because I really don't know who's telling the truth on this one. I'd have to say I want to believe more than Jake the Snake than anybody, as opposed to the Honky Tonk Man, because Honky Tonk Man always seems to be a bitter person throughout the years.
And kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I'll go with that too. So, to say that it's gimmicked and then, why would he say that, it's... I don't know. It just makes no sense as to why he would lie about something like that. I mean, if he said he hurt his neck in a match, you just tell me he hurt his neck in a match. So, I'm more inclined to believe Jake myself. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm more inclined to go with Jake Roberts, for the simple reason, whenever you see the Honky Tonk Man on TV, 99.9% of the time, when I've seen it anyway, you can tell it's a gimmicked balsa wood guitar, because it just falls apart even before he hits them. On an independent thing, I can't imagine the Honky Tonk Man putting his hand in his pocket and having a gimmicked guitar made. He'll just get some cheap-ass guitar from a guitar shop, a $10 cheap guitar, and just whack shit out of somebody over the head with it on the hoping that it's going to break. The only thing that worries me about the Honky Tonk Man's gimmick, Lance can probably put more onus on this than I can, being as I'm not a guitar player, but my son is. Whether it's a gimmicked guitar or not, if it's got guitar strings and those strings hit you in the skull, that's going to be worse than any barbed wire cut.
Yeah, if it's the lower strings, those can cut you, but that just depends on the gauge.
Yeah, I just think it's a bad thing to do. Any impact to someone's head is going to compress your neck. So, yeah, being a back injury patient for quite a few years, pain can come on 2 or 3 years later, and it's only when you think back, well, what might have caused that? I mean, my back injury, my doctors put it down to when I was between the ages of 18 and 25, when I used to go to the gym and pump iron, and because I thought I was Sylvester Stallone, I didn't wear a weightlifting belt or a back support. So basically, I damaged myself, and it's taken best part of 20 years for it to rear its ugly head. So just because you've been hit over the head with a lump of 3B2, for example, doesn't mean you're going to get pain straight away.
Joe, your thoughts?
This is such a coincidence. Just a little bit ago, I was watching from Kayfabe Commentaries, the WWE, or should I say WWF, timeline history of 1987 with the Honky-Tonk Man. And he was being interviewed about the different events that happened that year with him. And he brung up that same topic. He says they gave him several different guitars. One was too heavy, and he didn't want to use it. The second one, they gave him a very gimmicked fiberglass guitar that he said they took the time to slowly etch it out to make sure it looks like his breaks. They removed the guitar strings. If you look at it, it's kayfabecommentaries.com. You can look it up, the timeline with Honky Tonk Man. And then I looked at the video. You can actually look at YouTube for the video. Honky hits Jake with a guitar or whatever. You can see where it's gimmick and it caves in. So, to me, it looks like that's a gimmick guitar. He took, and it wasn't that you heard the thump and that was it. If it was harder than that, you would have probably seen Lance. Maybe you would know more than I do. You hit someone with a pure fiberglass guitar, you're going to have to hit him really, really hard for it to break in. If you look at the video, it's more like a tap, and it sounds like cardboard breaking. So is Jake telling the truth? Is Honky telling the truth? We know Honky exaggerates a lot. We know Jake exaggerates a lot, and he blames other people for his drug abuse. Now, I'm going to slide off something right here real quick. No matter what, whether it be pain pills, whether it be heroin, whether it be cocaine, whatever have you, the person who's taking the drugs have themselves to blame. They're the ones that use it. They're the ones that can say no to it. And Jake has a bad history with that. All of them guys have. But there's a point where you could say no and you don't want to take it. So blaming somebody else on your drug addiction is not a cool thing to do. It's your choice. You did it. Going back now to the situation, to me it looked more like a gimmick guitar. It looked like something like it crumbled in. So people can, you know what, Rick? Too bad we can't show that piece of footage because WWE owns it. But if it was shown, at least a still picture, you can get the impact. You can look at compare the pictures, and fans, you could see for yourself. It's a gimmick guitar.
But right now, I think we're going to wrap this up. We're going to thank you all for listening to this edition of In the Moment. Make sure you put your comments in the comments section below. And, of course, make sure you follow us over at HardcoreWrestlingRadio.com. And make sure you like us on our Facebook page at Facebook.com/HardcoreWrestlingRadio. Andy, where can everyone find you at?
Yeah, you can find me at www.stokehaunted.com. But just a quick one for all the fans that were booing Roman Reigns for winning the Royal Rumble. You'll be the first ones jumping up and down on your seats when his cornerman's going to be The Rock.
You know what? And like I said, I'm going to be happy when Roman Reigns wins. That's just for the record. We have the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, where can everyone find you, and what do you got going on?
Well, pretty much you can find me on Facebook.com at Joseph Knight Manager, or you can follow me on my other page, which is Facebook.com Classic Wrestling Association. We are gearing up for our April 25th show. That's going to be the rebirth of the CWA. There's going to be a lot of surprises, a lot of people we're bringing in, a lot of new faces that the fans are going to be surprised to see, a lot of former stars that were coming in from other organizations. And again, we're going to surprise people with that over the coming weeks. So you'll see a big announcement coming soon. So follow us on our Facebook page and follow me as well.
We have the incomparable Lance Moss, and you can find him over at LanceMossTV/YouTube.com. Lance, what do you got going on?
Album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck garment cooking videos, some musical equipment reviews, some rants, some other stuff or some random stuff, and I also will have the archives of Controversies and Scandals. And Joe, I do have one question for you. Are you going to bring Andy Weathercock onto your league?
Absolutely. Let's bring him in. In fact, let's make him our ghost hunting champion.
Well, for everyone here, I'm your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.
And if you're following us, don't follow us too hard, because that's called stalking.
Thank you for listening to this edition of In the Moment. Make sure you follow us at any one of our locations, whether it's YouTube, Dailymotion, and now SoundCloud.com under the name HWR Show. Until the next time, this is your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you